Hello, everyone. Thank you for taking your coffee break with us. I'm Sarah Ng, a career coach for women in tech. And this is Hey, How Was Your Day, which is a coffee break series with fascinating women in tech who are living authentically. And we get a glimpse into their past, present, and future. And Taylor is everybody's internet friend. Someone once described Taylor as the person where she walks into the room virtually or like in real life, and everyone yells out, "It's Taylor," which is so true. And we've been internet friends for, I don't know, the past year. First time that we've gotten in a room together and just sent so many voice notes before that to each other, newsletters. And Taylor is head of community at Groove, which, if you haven't heard of them, check them out. They help work from home humans whose work, I like this description, whose work doesn't fit into a neat little box of better weeks. And she loves playing board games. I just asked her, I put her on the spot and asked her to describe her favorite one, which is Sequence because of the good vibes. Is what you said, more or less.
Yeah, 100%.
That's exactly what you said. And Taylor, I'd love for you to start off telling everyone a little bit about a day in your past and what day that is.
Wow. Okay. I am so excited to be here. I just have to say, I have now watched several of these. Instead of binging Netflix, I'm binging these How Was Your Day videos. What incredible women you were surrounded by in your life. And I loved one thing I'm going to try to keep in mind, because I thought Zoe in particular did such a good job of this, was pulling out the little things that bring us there with the listeners of this is what a day in the life really felt like. And these were some of the little things. So it's top of mind as I share my day in the past.
Yeah.
So it's I've got two things that come up as you share this. One is I'm picturing, so I grew up in Connecticut, and I have 3 younger brothers. So I'm not only the only girl, but the oldest of 4, which is a really special position to be in. And I feel like it comes at no surprise that most of my friends are also the oldest girls in their family. And I think something about us just comes together. So, and it's responsibility, and we care for each other. and so my brother that's closest in age with me, Brandon, we're about 1.5 years, 2 years apart. And I think about just all the time we spent outside together in our backyard in Connecticut. So in the winters, we had these beautiful woods. So right in the backyard, there's a stone wall, which is very common in the area I grew up in, Connecticut, and this forest. And so in the summertime, you can't see the other houses. It's just this forest. But of course, once the leaves fall, you can see one house behind us. And so in the winter, we would call it Wilderland. That was our woods. We would go and we would explore. We would grab leaves and pretend we were fishing for fish. But instead, we're with our sticks in the snow, just grabbing leaves. We'd bring them over to a tree trunk that we claimed was our oven, and we would cook the fish. So I'm really that is what, when I think about growing up and the past, I think about those memories of being in that backyard with my brother. We had a golden retriever growing up. So I think about Max, my golden, running all around. I picture even in the summer, Brandon and I both had our bug catchers. So we would be out there with our bug catchers. We had a lot of frogs in the area. So there was this one little, it was a silver inlet that's attached to the house. And the frogs would sort of just gather there. And so we had different names for them. We would wake up in the morning and walk outside and go say hello to them. So there's a lot of memories in the yard that I think of. Yeah. And then there's one other piece of my childhood that comes up a lot too, which is in my house, we also had a cedar closet. So when you walk in, it's all wood. So wood on the ceiling, wood on the ground, everywhere. What'd you say?
It sounds like you're setting us up for Narnia.
Right. And then we opened up a secret door, and there were horses behind, and I could fly. No. Yeah, I know, right? And so it was a cedar closet, which normally I guess people use to preserve photos and things like that, and a closet like that, or nice clothing and stuff. But instead, my parents had the bright idea of making it the Barbie closet. So this space, this little magical closet, became where I had my Barbie house, which my dad and my grandpa built together when I was really,
Wow.
really young. And so when you opened up the closet, there was the wooden dollhouse. It had a spiral staircase. It had wallpaper in it. It was so cool. It had little curtains that, made of fabric that would go, and I could close them. So when Barbie was getting dressed or going to bed, they would be closed.
Oh.
And my mom and I would just spend so much time together sitting in the Barbie closet playing Barbies. So that also is another like very fond childhood memory, and definitely like was a cool thing when friends would come over to be like, want to go play Barbies, and like open up my secret little closet.
Yeah, custom. I envision like little you sitting inside of it too. The fact that you could it was big enough where you could like be in this secret little spot. Sounds so cool.
It was really, really cool. And then as I got older, I started to like there was a new toy that came out, Littlest Pet Shop. And it was like these little kind of like pet bobbleheads, like animal bobbleheads. Yeah. And so then they took over the Barbie house at one point. So when Barbie wasn't hanging out in the house, these little guys would come out to play. And absolutely, I dragged my brothers in there once in a while to come play with me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, okay, you won't play with the Barbies, but like these are animals, so you'll play with them, right?
Yeah. I love that it just sounds very wholesome and very Disney-esque. Like you're saying hi to the frogs outside, like waving good morning, and they're all like laid out and kind of like welcoming you to the next day.
Yeah.
And then with the leaves, like I think you did a great job with the sensory details as well.
Thank you.
Really this in the
hat tip to Zoe. She inspired that.
I love, like I can picture that wall and a lot of solid one-on-one time, like with your brother and like with your mom, like playtime.
Yeah, it is interesting because I actually was having a conversation this morning about how I actually like group hangouts more than one-on-one. So there's something interesting to think about of why growing up I enjoyed that so much. Maybe part of it being that I did grow up in a big family. So there were a lot of moments where I was spending time like the six of us. And yeah, as I've gotten older, it is funny when I go to hang out with friends, I would much rather be in a group or invite a group of friends over than to hang out one-on-one.
Yeah. And that that so clearly. Because for me, I'm like,
yeah.
I love a one-on-one, but sometimes groups will actually energize me. It depends on the vibe.
Yeah, I think part of it too is like, yeah, I really like picking an event that I want to go to and just being like, who else wants to meet me there? So if I end up going by myself, I go by myself. But if other people want to come, then I'll have friends that are there. So that's something I naturally lean on. But I do think that's like, and maybe we'll get to it when we talk about my present day. But I think there's something there about like needing to still communicate it clearly, because I think a lot of people prefer one-on-one. And so sometimes I have this like story in my head of, if I'm expressing my needs and my wants of wanting to hang out in a big group and like this being the thing that's energizing for me, is that energizing for the friend? So yeah, something I'm working on.
Yeah. Letting people know ahead of time and then like coming to a consensus of what works for everyone, but also expressing your needs and what you want, what energizes. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so you hinted a little bit at the present day. I'm curious. Well, let me just blank slate. Describe your present day, like how. Let's see where you go with it. I was going to mention your career, but let's see.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay, so I'm just going to describe a present day. So, what's life like for me right now? I think it's funny. It's a very funny time to be having this conversation because I feel like my life is sort of at a funny transitional phase because I just moved to a new area of New York. So I've lived in the same space for 3 years prior to this and loved it for so many reasons, but it was time for a change. And when that was my first apartment in New York. So it was a bittersweet goodbye because there were so many fun memories that were made there. And it's leading up to a move. I'm guessing you've moved before. Leading up to a move, there's just like so much that goes into mentally preparing for it and then also like physically preparing for it that I feel like my mind and my life was on a funny pause for like a solid month and a half, 2 months with this move. And so to finally land in this new space that I'm exploring for the first time and, you know, feeling like, oh, how do I make this feel like home? It's like a whole different world. And I also feel like because I moved neighborhoods, I'm experiencing New York in a way that I haven't since the first time that I moved here. Like I truly feel like I'm in a different city because of the drastic change. And like, I used to live close to Midtown where it was very busy, big buildings. I was in a big apartment building that was like a doorman building. Now I'm in a 5-floor walk up, which has its perks. And every time that I'm walking up the stairs, I regret it a little bit. But it is lovely. Yes, groceries are rough. And I have tips for that I've learned now that I would do differently. So I have a lovely backpack I just bought. But yeah, it's a funny transitional thing because it's like, okay, I feel like this new life is sort of starting and I'm getting to have this moment to reflect, like, what do I want in this life in this new neighborhood? So one thing, you know, I guess like when I think about a normal day here, it's a lot of spending time outside now. So I do have a little private patio in the back, which is the perk of the 5th floor. Yeah. So I'm on the top and I get to enjoy the lovely space outside and to work out there and to have calls out there, to take a breather, to go out there. I'm an herb mom now. So I have a bunch of herbs, which is very exciting. So I have basil and parsley and cilantro and all the things. And like yesterday I went and I was like, oh, I need a 5-minute break. So I put on some Ingrid Michaelson to listen to and blasted that, opened up the door and went outside and like cut any of the dead leaves off of my herbs. And I was like, this is such a different life than Taylor 2 months ago.
Yeah. Where you go out into like the Midtown chaos with all the tourists, and then Times Square is right there and you're like getting pushed towards the subway basically.
Absolutely. And sometimes you just want to get on it and leave the area. So it's funny. I don't even know, maybe I have it up here. This is a very exciting update and I wasn't sure if I was going to share this, but it feels right today. Yeah. This is a live thought. So a thing that I recently did was I bought a flip phone. So here she is. I'm very excited about her. And it's a second device so that I can, when I wake up in the morning in this new area, have my smartphone put into a drawer. Actually, it's kind of like a charging box that's under my desk. And so I just charge my phone, my normal iPhone in there. And then I have my flip phone on my desk so that in the morning, if I want to go on a walk or something, I'm reaching for this and never actually reaching for my phone until I start work and hop into my first Groove co-working session of the day. Yeah. So I have been dreaming of having a flip phone for about 2 years now and finally made the decision to do it. And so far, the last 10 days have been absolutely lovely with it. I went, and it's funny because I'm learning a lot about things I need to prepare for and ways I need to slow down in order to use it. So that's been very interesting to reflect and learn on.
Yeah. I use something called Lock Me Out because during COVID, half my life was on COVID. No. Half my life was on TikTok, but also like more than half my life was.
It feels like a lot of our lives was spent in COVID times. Time doesn't exist.
I aged so much, but it was like, oh my God, I need to like figure out some kind of way to lock myself out. And then I found this through some kind of subreddit of like a bunch of other desperate people. And the same thing of how do I spend my mornings where I set it to starting at, I can look at my email and everything else at 10 a.m., but not the first thing I'm reaching for now. It's like out of my bedroom, which
my bedroom is also a no phone zone. It's very important to me. Yeah. I 3 years ago, I read the book. I guess it was 4 years ago now. Wow. I read the book How to Break Up with Your Phone. Have you heard of that? It's by Catherine Price. Highly, highly recommend. Whether someone is listening and they feel like, they maybe have some negative feelings towards how much time they spend on their phone or their relationship with the phone, or if they're just you could kind of be at any phase of that journey of being like, I just want to kind of better understand my relationship with my phone, whatever it is. Her book is like a 30-day process. So it's a really tiny book. It's actually, oh, it's right here. So here she is. So,
like things left and right.
I know. I've got a lot going on this desk. We can take a tour. I have like, it's a lovely little, oh, here go my headphones.
The new apartment.
This is the new apartment. And this is, I have an emotional support pickle up here. I have my Legos. I have a calendar and then some of my favorite books. So anyways, this book is great. It's basically 30 days. It's a process for how to break up with your phone and reflect on it. Yeah. And it changed a lot of my relationship with how certain settings I have on my phone. I have like very, very strict tech boundaries, and I'm always like learning different ways to do it. And even including like the way that we were using voice messages, like that's a great way to save time rather than scheduling meetings with friends and with people who want to reach out and have a meeting and things like that. So anyways, all to say that a lot of my day today and my present is really like being intentional with how I spend my time, and on my phone is not a way that I want to be spending it. So that's a huge piece of it. And then also I even use like, I have a no plans Monday rule. So on Mondays, I'm not allowed to make any plans. On 2 other days of the work week, I have me time scheduled on my calendar. So I allow myself to move that me time. If I want it to be on Tuesday this week and Thursday this week, but Wednesday and Friday next week, I can go ahead and flip that. But basically what that means to me is that 3 working days do not have plans after work or before work. So lots of like, I have like a lot of systems in order for me to focus and also enjoy my time in the ways that I love.
Yeah, it's such a great foundation and it's repeatable. So you don't have to like think about it every single day of like, oh, I'm feeling this way. What do I need? It's actually like, okay, these are some of the built-in things that I can have.
Yeah.
Good. How did you discover those? Because I know a lot of people are searching for what those kind of things are for them.
It's a good question. I think, like I said, this book, How to Break Up with Your Phone, it really was like the starting tipping point for me. So I found it in COVID. So like let's bring it back to 2020, half of my life. So it was like summer of 2020. I'm at home in Connecticut with my family, living at home at the time. And I was taking all of these walks because that's all we could fricking do was go on walks. So I was walking alone and I started listening to the book, How to Break Up with Your Phone. Or no, you know what it was? I was listening to podcasts with Catherine Price on how to break up with your phone. I remember exactly where I was. And I was like, I am going to buy this book and I'm going to do the damn thing. And so I bought it and I received it. And there's I marked up a bunch of things in here and highlighted things. And that's when my no phone zone started in my bedroom. It's when certain things like limitations on my phone started. So I don't have any social media downloaded on my phone. The only thing that I have is Instagram in my browser. All other social media, I'm not even allowed to access in my browser. So Instagram in my browser is only for 10 minutes now, which 10 minutes a day flies by. And I actually don't even have the password anymore to override it. My boyfriend now has the password, so I can't override it. So that's how you know, like, I'm really serious about this focus and not spending time on my phone. But it is funny because then sometimes I'll like refresh Gmail, like looking as if I'm going to get like a really amazing email, which is so silly because like, what am I looking for? But there's like this thing in our brains of wanting to like refresh and see a feed of some sort. So anyways, that's where like a bunch of those things started. So it's been a 4-year journey. Like if you talk to Taylor 2 months into the journey, it would have been completely different. Taylor 6 months ago didn't have the same things that I have in my life right now. So, and I think it's worth saying, like, a lot of these things started from like a place of pain, of being like, I can't keep living this way. And my Monday rule and my like me time rule came from a place of hitting such an intense emotional, like something needs to change because I can't keep operating like this. I was saying yes to way too many things. And then I was tired. And it was this cycle of like, I say yes, I get excited, then I do the thing, then I feel tired, and then I get sick. And so I've had to find ways to manage that.
Yeah, I think that cycle, like you highlighted it so well, is that it's it's the tired, like you start feeling it, and then it's a physical embodiment, like, why am I getting sick? Now I have a cough.
Mm-hmm.
It catches up with us, and
Absolutely.
I think it's so fun. Like recently, I added in like a 4-day work week,
Oh,
and
that's so interesting. Okay, tell me more about that.
well, not only that, I was like, okay, first I started with no calls on that day because most of my work is being on calls with people, which is great. But
Mm-hmm.
having one day, and then I was like, okay. In addition to that, like I hang out a lot of since you're in New York, Pret.
Yes.
Hang out at this one chain coffee shop all the time working. It's like I want to do something new. Maybe it's going and exploring a new coffee shop. Maybe it's
Mm.
going to a bookstore. There's a place in London now where they have a vending machine that will like spit out poems for you and
Oh my
give
gosh,
you
what a
from your
dream.
mood. Yeah, so it's like I need to make an exploratory day. It doesn't need to be a big thing, but something new in some way. And that's
Mm.
find new ways of doing things and not treat it as like I can get in the default of like this is a working day of some kind. So it's been
Yeah.
ways to treat myself.
I've been thinking a lot this year about this concept of like touring your town. So I went to this craft studio
I
called
think you
Happy
mentioned
Medium.
it once.
I think I did. And I actually posted about it. I don't know if it was today that it
Also,
went out, but
it was
I,
today.
oh, okay. And so I'm like, I schedule these things in advance on LinkedIn. But I've been talking about it all year because I like in January, I went to this craft studio and I had like found in a magazine, it said tour your town. And I just immediately was like, that is such a great phrase, like to be a tourist in your own town
Mhm.
and to have that beginner's mindset of like, wondering like, oh, what am I gonna do today? Or how do I see this in a way that someone would if they were visiting it for the first time? And so it
Yeah.
was interesting because I've, like I said, I've been really thinking about this since January, which I was living in my old apartment back then. So I really tried to bring that beginner's mindset into walking around that neighborhood of like, what am I not noticing that I want to notice for the first time before I leave here or to notice with like greater detail?
Yeah.
And I've been noticing now in my new town, my new neighborhood in the city,
Yeah.
that with my flip phone, I feel like I can lean into it just so much more because there are so
Wow.
many urges as I'm on these walks where
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I should totally take a picture of this, or I should tell so and so about why, or I'm gonna go ahead and order that thing on Amazon I've been thinking about. And when I can't do that, it automatically like forces me to be present and just notice. So there's been like so many things. Like I've been reading the plaques on like benches as I walk by them.
Uh-huh.
And it's just so sweet. Like there was one that someone had for their granddad's like 70th birthday, and it talked about how he was a great fisherman. And I was like, I love that. Like I don't know
Oh, yeah.
granddad, but I feel like
Yeah.
I feel like I know granddad now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
yeah, to kind of like bring it all full circle, I do feel like that concept of tour your town, it's something you can do when you have lived in a place for a long time. And also a move like what I'm going through right now is such an amazing like reminder of like that curiosity of being in a space for the first time and like not wanting to lose that is something I'm being very intentional about.
Yeah. 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 What a like grand advertisement, very convincing advertisement for getting a flip phone.
I know. Also, like, may I just say, like, this is so satisfying. Like,
Yeah. Sound.
I love the sound. I can do it all day long. Yeah.
I love that. And I'm curious about when you mentioned like the noticing the bench with the 70th birthday and noticing or spending time with your herbs. What does your future look like when noticing and
Mm.
everything with touring, all of the things?
Oh, I think there's something that I have like this strong desire to feel like a regular in this neighborhood. Like
Hmm.
that is something when I think of Future Taylor, like I think of Future Taylor knowing some of the dogs on my street and being like, hey, Penny, it's so good to see you. And like talking to the neighborhood dog that I recognize and
Yeah.
like saying hello to their owner and asking like, oh, how was that vacation you went on? I saw Penny was with her, trainer last week and you weren't here. Like that's the kind of future I want in this, like, because I'm living in an area that's much more neighborhoody now. And again, like I'm very much in this exciting zone. I'm in the honeymoon phase with the flip phone, and it also feels very personal. Like that's why I wasn't sure I was going to bring it up, because I don't want it to feel like something that I'm sharing because like I want it to still feel like mine. Does that make sense of like wanting to yeah, like this is right, but also like it might help someone, so I want to share it. Like I'm doing it because I really need it. Like and so I think when I think about like even the last few times when I've gone on these walks, I've said good morning to so many people, or people have said good morning to me because I've made eye contact with them and I've like said it back.
Yeah.
And that just didn't happen in my old neighborhood. And I want to be able to be like, good morning, Sarah. Like I want to know a neighbor, see them on the street and be able to say their first name. So that's a dream for the future, for future Taylor. That could be Taylor a month from now. It could be Taylor a year from now. Like we don't know. So that's a piece of it. I think, when I think of like my days in the future too, I think, I'm trying to think like what else comes up. I think part of it is feeling like a regular in certain spaces too. So one thing I really want to do is join a run club. I've never been a part of a run club. And I think I would really enjoy it. And one of the reasons I think I'd really enjoy it is as a community builder, as someone who does work that she loves, like I really do love the work I do. And I also have a lot of friends that are community members. So friends that have become groovers that have become friends. Like it is a very identity-based job that I think it's really nice to find those spaces when like I can just like be more off. Like no one's going to ask me about work and genuinely have like a question or feedback or like things like that. But like I can go to Run Club and be like running Taylor who lives in the neighborhood and have a great time. And like, there's a shared experience around it. Similarly, like I just applied to be a volunteer at 3 different organizations in the neighborhood. So I'm going to do some training and figure out which one I want to actually like commit to. But like, I want to be a regular there. Like I want to go to like a senior center. Like one of the ones I applied to was like a senior center where we would like write like a senior would share a story and I would help them write it down so that they could keep it. Oh. And I'm like, I want to be like just there. Like I just want to be present and I don't want to think about like the everyday things because I'm there for this shared experience. And that like mental break, I think is a really healthy thing to have. And so I'm looking forward to future Taylor having more of that in this new area.
Yeah. I think what you said about being present and showing up in so many different ways, like so many different facets, but there's this real connection of being present, of eliminating like the everyday things or the Amazon and who I need to text. And it's making eye contact, knowing Penny's name. I love that.
Right. We need to know Penny. Yeah. I need Penny's birthday, favorite kind of treat. Like I'll carry a pocket full, whatever we need to do. But, and I think one of the things that's been really interesting too with walking around the neighborhood now with this flip phone is I brought a journal with me, like a little pocket-sized journal that has a pen. And so I've been writing things down as I notice a restaurant I want to look up later. Or, if I want to order something from Amazon, I write it down. And then sometimes I open the journal and I'm like, I don't actually need that thing. Yeah. So again, the slowness of that has been interesting. And I grew up in, like I'm 27. Like I grew up in my parents had flip phones when I was young, but by middle school, like I had an iTouch. I had an iPod in the 3rd, 4th grade. Like I have grown up with technology and like consuming music, consuming podcasts, TV shows since such a young age that it's really like an unlearning process to be quiet and to be present and to think about all the little things that go into allowing myself to do that. Like I wrote down in my journal, I was like, I have to write down, what are the hours for the grocery store? What are the hours for Target? If I'm going to go on an errand and I'm out with my flip phone, I might walk 20 blocks, get to Target and realize like, actually it's closed. So there's I think a lot there that's going to be interesting to lean into for future Taylor and see. I hope we talk in 6 months and I'm like still obsessed with my flip phone and not just
Thank
in the
you.
honeymoon
Yes.
phase.
I think you're onto something. We will be communicating on both of our flip phones. You sold me. And I guess we won't leave voice notes as much, but maybe it'll be a phone call. Actually, that's
Maybe.
cool.
Yeah.
That's
Or voicemail. That was fun to record my new voicemail. And then it's like, I have to dial 1 to like reach my voicemail. It's so different.
Yeah. And you do such a great job of like bringing in details and noticing things. Like that's so, like when you're describing all of your days, especially like your childhood really got me, but even like the bench and seeing that plaque there. So thank you for bringing the story of, I mean, your life. Like, thank you for telling us about what it's like to be Taylor, whether it's future Taylor with Penny in the neighborhood or at the run club or doing groove sessions. Oh, and actually another thing to plug is you can hang out with Taylor. I'm assuming like at Groove and like doing some of those groove sessions too.
I even made a little, if anyone listening to this wants to join, I made the code for you to hop in as Sarah Ng. So anyone can join with the code Sarah Ng and be able to get a free 30-day pass to come groove with me if you're like, oh, what is this co-working thing?
Yeah. Who wouldn't want to hang out with you in Groove? And
it's good vibes.
All the good vibes. Okay, so we will put that in the comments. That's
cool.
Very touch. I've never had someone name a invite.
I was like, this makes sense. Like, I'm like, this is easy.
Yeah, and it sounds like a verb, Sarahing.
I know. So. Yeah, when I wrote it in all caps, I was like, oh, this looks great. Like, this looks like Sarahing is a way of life.
Some may say. Okay, and then the last thing I have a request for you.
Oh gosh.
It's not as deep as you think, is to, if you can find a picture of your Barbie house. Like,
oh my gosh.
Place, like I would love to see that. And we would all love to see that. So to put that like in the comments somewhere.
I'll tell mom to start looking through the scrapbooks.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much for having me. This has been a really sweet time.
Likewise. Thanks, Taylor. And thank you for coming on.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone.